What's up guys, so I'm back with another video, and today, as you've guessed by the title of the video, we are going to discuss about a topic on which I've made numerous videos, but today I'm going to put a real, let's just say, the last nail on the coffin and make the most comprehensive video that is there on YouTube, on the Indian scene at least, for the kind of shoe that you should wear while training, while lifting weights, or while going to the gym and all. In order to make this systematic, we will first discuss why I am emphasizing on the need to pick the right shoe. Now, in my over 9 years of experience in weight training, I have seen people, me included, wearing the wrong shoe for a lot of time. The wrong shoe essentially meaning that sports shoes are being considered training shoes. Sports shoes or running shoes. Running shoes are not training or weightlifting shoes. They are not optimal because their job is very different from a weightlifting shoe or a training shoe. A weightlifting shoe or a training shoe is to be sturdy. Its job is to provide you with the maximum power delivery from your foot. The sprinting shoe or the sneakers or the running shoes or the sports shoes that you wear are very different because their sole is very squishy, and the reason it is squishy is that they have a shock absorber system. Their cushioning is in order to minimize the impact that is created on the various joints of the legs when you're running or when you're doing some movement which involves sprinting or any cardiovascular activity for that matter. So it is very important for us to know that it is imperative for us to use the shoes that are optimal for weight training performance. And there are certain characteristics for those shoes. Your footwear is of paramount importance where you're inside the gym because of one simple fact. Your legs will always be working. You will always be walking around and you need a sturdy base. If you could have worked out barefoot, that is fine, but you need certain support to your ankle, you need certain support to your foot to hold it together. It is very important for your shoe, or let's just say it is the most important accessory that you can use in the gym. I have seen multiple exercises being done wrong, being done with horrendous form simply because the shoes were not right. So now, once we've got the importance of the shoe out of the way, let's proceed to what are the characteristics that a good weight training shoe should have. Now, just before delving into the three categories of the shoes, I'm going to tell you a bit about how I'm going to categorize them. You can change your shoes or you can decide your shoes basis on two things. The kind of squat that you do. If you're a high bar squatter with a relatively narrow stance, you would want a shoe which has an elevated heel. That is a high bar squatting shoe, a weightlifting shoe, right? Because it will help in your ankle mobility. If you're a low bar squatter with a wider stance, you would generally want to use a shoe like this with a flatter sole, hard sole, low to the ground, right? And the third would be the training shoes, the cross training shoes. If you're using cardio as well as CrossFit like activities and you would want one shoe to do the entire deal for you, those are the cross training shoes. I'll give you one example of all three of them, and then the fourth one will be a deadlift specific shoe. So I'm going to give you the examples. Number one, let's proceed with the one which is for low bar squatters with a wider stance. This is the kind of shoe that you would want. A shoe which has a very hard sole. Just look at the sole here, and absolutely flat. So it is flat, it is hard. When you look at the outsole, when you look at the upper of the shoe, it's leather, so it is going to hold together. It has very decent amount of protection, plus it's a high top, so it's going to grab the foot, right? This is a normal Chuck Taylor All-Star 2. It's slightly on the expensive side because it is made of leather. There is another Chuck Taylor which is made of canvas, which will be considerably lesser in terms of price. You would be getting it around 2,500 rupees. That is going to be a perfect shoe if you're a low bar squatter. I would always recommend the high top because it always gives certain amount of protection to the ankle, but you can go for the low top as well. Both the high top and the low top would be decent deadlifting shoes as well, because you're gonna get a very good platform, a very hard sole, very stable platform to deadlift off. The only disadvantage would be that they are thick, so they are a little off the ground, so it would kind of convert into some amount of deficit, right? So you would want to avoid that, and that is why I will go into number 4, which is my number 4 category of the deadlift specific shoe. Now, if this is going to be your training shoe, which it is for a lot of people, that is the canvas or the Converse shoes, you can either start deadlifting in these shoes itself, right? You can go barefoot, or you can wait for my 4th category, right? You can go barefoot as well. It is completely fine if you're deadlifting in socks also, just that the grip will be a little let's just say false. You will not have that true grip. Now proceeding to category number 2. Number 2 would be for the high bar squatters with a narrower stance. These weightlifting shoes would be very good for them, simply because of 2 reasons. One, that the sole is either TPU or wood, so it's very hard, there is no giveaway. So the power delivery and power transfer at the foot is going to be very, very good. It will also be very good in terms of grabbing onto your foot, because there is very minimal giveaway. Just look at how hard it is at the rear. Plus this heel height is very, very good, is exceptional for people who have ankle mobility problems. So in high bar squatting, in order to hit depth, you should have a certain level of ankle mobility. If you don't have that, it is going to be very difficult for you to hit depth. This helps in ankle mobility. So that is one of the technicalities of a weightlifting shoe, and I have explained it in other videos. I will link that video as to what are the technical biomechanics behind it. Right now, if you are using this shoe, it is going to cost you about the same range as a canvas or a Converse will cost you. It's going to be about 2,500 bucks. I think if you're using this as your premier weightlifting shoe, you need to ensure that you're deadlifting in socks only, because this is not something I would recommend in deadlifts because of the raised heel. It is going to convert into a deficit deadlift, right? So this is not something I would recommend for deadlifts. Now the third is going to be a cross training shoe. I do own one cross training shoe. It's a Reebok Nano 7, which I will give an example of. Now these shoes have a very, very firm midsole, and they have a flexible top toe box. So a flexible toe box gives you a touch of a shoe which can also incorporate, or which can also acclimatize to certain amount of flexible movements. Like if you're doing a split squat, your foot which is lying on the bench has to have certain amount of flexibility at the toe end, which can be very problematic if you're using too hard a shoe. So the cross training shoes are very good in terms of incorporating that. So generally people who do CrossFit kind of exercises, the Nano 7s are very good for them, because they also do stuff like sled drags, prowler pushes, and other cardiovascular movements in the same exercise. Those are decent in terms of deadlifting. All the sole is thick, so you would not want to deadlift in them. If you're deadlifting in them, it would again turn into a deficit deadlift. So you will have to deadlift essentially barefoot or in socks. Now when we step on to the deadlift shoes, deadlift shoes are Asics JB Elite. It's a wrestling shoe. And if I see the build of the shoe, you will see that the sole is minimal thickness. It is so thin that you will be feeling like you are standing barefoot. That is the entire point. You want to be as close to the ground as possible. In terms of stability, you would want to be as close to the ground as possible for the deadlift, as well as you would want something to hold on to your ankle for certain stability and grab your foot as well. So this is the kind of shoe that we use for deadlifts, that I prefer for deadlifts. You can definitely use the Chuck Taylors also, but this has a very thin sole, as you can see, and you will be having something to support your ankles as well. So this will be very good in terms of deadlifts. Would also say deadlift slippers are something that you can use, but deadlift slippers are as good as socks. Essentially, there is no support to your ankle. That's one of the points. More expensive versions, these will be around $6,000. You can also get Nivea wrestling shoes for about $1,400-1,500, about $1,200 as well. You can look out for sales on Amazon. They're easily available on Amazon. All of the products that I have just told you about are easily available on Amazon. So yeah, that is about it, and I hope it has been informative for you guys and you can pick the right training shoe out of these from your budget. Useful, definitely give it a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and leave your queries in the comments below, and I'll be seeing you.